Hi, this is Jeff Fudge, and thanks for joining my video. What are we talking about today? Well, let's see. First, we're going to talk about a little bit of confusion that I see now and again. Is it really a free tier, or is there such a thing as the coveted free account? Then we're going to talk about which services are free. You need to know how to protect your account. Your account is attached to a credit card. There's a lot of malicious actors out there attempting to break in and hack into AWS accounts. So we're going to talk about how you protect your account. Then I'm going to walk through the process of opening an account so you can see how that goes. And then lastly, if you don't want to use a credit card, if you don't have a credit card, we're going to talk about what options you have to gain access to AWS. I believe that AWS is sometimes a little confusing because they sometimes refer to this as an AWS free tier, as you see at the top of the screen, but you go down at that call to action button in orange and they say free account. So rest assured, unfortunately, there is no such thing as a free account. All accounts are the same, and all accounts require a credit card. So it's free in that if you're careful, and we're going to talk about which services are free. If you're careful, you can keep that down to zero. In essence, use the free tier of services. So no such thing as a free account. You'll need a credit card if you create an account like this, but you'll need a credit card if you create an account like this. But like I said, at the end of the video, you're going to find out if you don't have a card, you don't want to use a card, can you still get some hands-on experience? And we'll talk about that at the end of the video. So which services are actually free? Well, it wouldn't be much fun to have free use of the cloud if you couldn't create any virtual servers. So for the first 12 months, you'll have 750 hours per month. And why 750? Well, that's roughly 24 hours times 31 days. And so they want to make sure that if you left the server running over the entire month, that it would still be free. You can run Linux or you can run Windows. Keep in mind, you're not going to be able to generate, let's say, Bitcoin on this. You're not going to get the most powerful server. But the great news is for free, you can get both Linux and Windows experience in the cloud. From a storage perspective, you're going to get 5 gigabytes of S3 storage. In terms of the database, you have the database as a service option called Relation Database Service, or RDS. And you can have an RDS database running for 750 hours. Keep in mind, this will not include Microsoft SQL Server, as that's a rather expensive database, but all your open source databases, including DynamoDB, MySQL, PostgreSQL, those are all free. And then lastly, I'll just mention here, there's a lot of other free services that when you go ahead and create this free tier account, you'll see what's available to you for free. And it includes the serverless technologies called Lambda, machine learning, other database technologies. So you want to check that out. So let's talk about the information you need when you create an AWS account. It doesn't matter if it's a free tier account you're creating or just a regular account for your business. This process is going to be the same. You're going to need to think about a unique account name that you're going to assign to this account. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be unique across the world, but it'll help you if you have multiple accounts, help you log in to the correct one. You also have to create a password, and I strongly encourage you to make this a very complex password and not one that can be easily guessed or brute force attacked. You're going to need to provide some information about you. AWS wants to make sure you're a person and not a bot, so you're going to have to provide your name, a working phone number, your street address, and your email address. And when you provide your phone number, and we'll show this on the detailed walkthrough, but they are going to send you a code to that to that phone number, and you're going to verify that it's you. And then lastly, you do need a valid credit card. Even if you're using the free tier, you will have to provide it. I have heard that you can use a prepaid, let's say Visa or other prepaid credit cards. Now let's talk about some of the ways that you can protect your account when you create it. The first is to add what's called multi-factor authentication, or MFA, and this used to be called two-factor. Basically, you can set up your login so that you need more than just a password. So if the password is guessed by a program, or if it's guessed by an individual, that there's another way, another method for them to prove that they are you. And this is typically done by sending a message to a cell phone or to an app and then requiring you to key in some numerical value to prove that it's you and that you have possession of your phone. The second way is to create what's called an IAM, and IAM stands for Identity and Access Management, to create an IAM user. So when you first create an account, you did that with an email address. That is known as the root user. That is going to be the most powerful login that you have. Security best practices indicate that you should rarely log on to that root user unless you really need to. So we're going to show how you can create an IAM user with a little less, let's say, power, with a little less authority than the root user, and use that for most of your work in the cloud. We're going to set up billing preferences. So this IAM user is going to receive not only access to the billing portal so you can see what's being charged, but to set up some alerts as well. And so now let's create our account. You need to go to aws.amazon.com/free. And once you're there, you're going to key in your email address that you will use for your root login. Keep in mind, this is the most powerful login you will have to this AWS account. And you can only have an email address attached to one account. Pick something meaningful for the account name. I'm just going to name mine Jeff Free Tier Account. And I'm asking it to verify my email address. This is to obviously prove that it is a working, valid email address. And so check your inbox. Check your spam folder if you don't see it. It's going to send you a numeric code, and we're going to key that in here and click on Verify. Now, as I said, let's use a complex password. This root email login is going to be the most powerful account. So choose a complex password, please. We're going to select, this is a personal account, not intended for business purposes. You're going to type in your name, your phone number, your country, your address, city, state, or location, and then your postal code. You're going to, yes, agree to the customer agreement, and you're going to click on Continue. Now you need to key in either a credit or debit card number, and keep in mind this again could be a prepaid credit card. Next, we'll select our expiration date and our expiration year. We're going to put the cardholder name down. And you can either use the same address you used when you created the account, or you can key in a new one. Click on Continue. And this is where they're going to verify that your phone number is legit. You're going to go through that lovely CAPTCHA, and then you're going to type the characters for the CAPTCHA, and we're going to wait for that message to come in over our phone. And then on this screen, we're going to key in the code that was sent to our phone. And now definitely select the free basic support. If you were a business, you probably wouldn't select that, but we want to keep this free. So now we're going to click on Go to Management Console. This will be the first time we are signing in with our root account. So it's going to be the same email address that you were using. Click on Next. Key in your password. And voila, this is us in the dashboard. I'm going to close those little messages, and welcome to AWS. So now we're going to start to protect our account, first thing we're going to do is up in the upper right, we're going to click on Security Credentials. And you see a big warning here, MFA not activated for root user. So we're going to take care of that. Click on Assign MFA. And give this a name. And this really should be a name related to the account. So I'm just going to put Jeff Free Tier. And I'm going to choose Authenticator App because it's going to be on my phone. And you notice you can't have spaces in your name, so I'm going to fix that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the QR code on the screen, and then I am going to scan that with my Google Authenticator app on my phone, and then I'm going to key in the two codes that come up on my phone. Just waiting for the second one to refresh here. Click on Add MFA. And now you have protected that root account, which is the most powerful account, as I've said. So you protected that not only with a password, but protected with multi-factor authentication, requiring a phone to access your account. And now what we want to do is create an IAM user. IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. So we're going to click on Users over here. And on the right-hand side, there's Add Users. We're going to click on that. And we're going to give it a name. I'm just going to name this Jeff. And we want to enable console access. The whole reason we're creating this account is so we can sign in and avoid using the root account, because it's a best practice to only use the root account when necessary. I'm going to add a complex password for my IAM user. And I'm going to uncheck this so I don't have to change it when I sign on. Now, the way this works is you can either assign privileges to the account, or you can assign privileges to a group and add users to groups. And that's the best practice. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a group of administrators, and then we're going to add ourselves to that. So instead of spelling out administrators, I'm just going to spell out admins because I'm lazy. And if you look in that list, the top one is administrator access. So that'll give us as much as we can get outside of the root user. And now we're going to click on the admins group in the middle of the screen because we want to assign the user Jeff to that admins group, and that'll give that user ID administrator access to the account. I'm going to click on next. And so here we have it. We have created an IAM user. We have assigned it to the admins group. Click on create user to finalize everything. And now we have access to the console. We've set our password. We've set our username. And now what we're going to do before we log on as the user that I just created, we are going to give this IAM user access to billing. By default, IAM users that you create do not have access to billing. And in order for us to make sure that we're not being charged for anything outside of the free tier, it's going to be very important to be able to see what you're currently being billed, if anything. So let's go through that now. So up at the top right, we are going to click on Billing Dashboard. There are some settings here that would help us stay in touch with what is being charged, if anything, to our credit card. Over on the left-hand side, we are looking for billing preferences. You're going to find that under the preferences section, so I'm going to click on that. So if you see here, receive free tier usage alerts. So we want that. So key in the email address that you want to send those alerts to. the next checkbox underneath that, receive billing alerts. More information is better than not enough, so we're going to check that. And then going back up to the top, let's click on receive PDF invoice by email. This will help you stay in touch each month with the line items that you're being billed for. So if there are any charges, that'll give you the detail delivered in an email. So I'm going to check that. Then I'm going to go down and click on Save Preferences. Now, the next thing we're going to do, go up to the top right. We're going to click on Account. And you would think that you could give IAM access to billing from the billing dashboard, but you can't. You have to go into the account screen here. We're going to scroll down until you see IAM user and role access to billing information. So there it is. You don't see a checkbox or anything. You need to click on Edit, which is to the right. So I'm going to click on the word Edit. You simply check there, activate IAM access, and click on Update. This ensures that when you're not signed on as root, but you're signed on using an IAM user, like the user Jeff that I created, you now have access to billing. And before we sign on with our IAM user, we're going to make it a little bit easier for ourselves. We're going to go up to the search bar. We're going to key in IAM and use that as a shortcut to get to the IAM dashboard. And we're going to create an account alias. On the top right under account ID, you'll see that accounts are 12-digit numbers. It's usually difficult to remember, a lot of copy and pasting. So we're going to create an alias that'll be easier for us to remember. So I'm going to click on Create. Keep in mind, this alias needs to be unique, meaning no one else can have this alias because it would be pointing to your account. So I'm going to try something to make it unique. Jeff on AWS. And of course, no, someone else already has that. So let's try something else. Maybe let's go with Jeff on AWS, and we'll just put a suffix on the end, like the word training or something. Hopefully that'll be unique. And okay, so that is unique. So that's great. This will make it a lot easier for us to sign on, and I'll show you an example of how to use the alias when we sign on. So I'm going to click up on the top hand. We're going to click on Sign Out, and we're going to click on Sign into the console. So instead of root user, I'm going to select IAM user, and this is where you need either your 12-digit account number or the alias you just created. I'm going to click on Next. Jeff was my IAM username, and key in my password here. Click on Sign In. And now we have signed in using Jeff. And if you look at the top right-hand corner, you're going to see Jeff at Jeff on AWS Training. So that shows we're logged in as our IAM user. Up at the top, I'm going to jump back to the IAM dashboard again. And what you'll notice is that it's warning us, add MFA for yourself. And I'm not going to go through adding MFA a second time. It's going to be identical to how you did that to the root, but you're going to add MFA for your IAM user. And when you do that, when you name the MFA device, you might want to just put IAM somewhere in that name so you know the difference between your root account sign in and your IAM user sign in. Now I have gone ahead and added MFA to my IAM user. And before we set up this alert, I want to talk about how we set up these billing alarms and alerts for ourselves. You may think it's as simple as we just key an email address into the billing console, but that wouldn't be very flexible. And so we're going to use a variety of AWS services to accomplish that. We're going to use CloudWatch, which is the alarm service for alerting and monitoring. We're going to then use SNS, Simple Notification Service, which handles email processing. We're going to create a topic so that we can create ultimately multiple topics, maybe billing, security, uptime or availability, but we're going to create a topic that we call billing. We're going to hook that topic to SNS, so that is sent then to our email address. And so it's not as straightforward, but this is very flexible for a wide variety of alarms and alerting. So now we're going to go into the console and we're going to step through this one step at a time. So up at the top right, we're going to click on the account. We're going to click on billing dashboard. Over on the left-hand side, we're going to click on billing preferences. Now we are going to look for the hyperlink that says manage billing alerts. That's the easiest way to do that from here. Basically, that's just going to launch us into CloudWatch, which is the monitoring service. So we don't have any existing alarms, so we are going to click on create alarms. There are no existing alarms, so click on create. We need a metric for the alarm condition to be set for, and so click on billing and then click on total estimated charge. As you can see, I'm in the United States, so the US dollar is the currency. That'll be the default for your country. Whichever country you're in, it'll select the appropriate currency. Click on select a metric, and you look at the defaults here. You look at the time period, and you may say, boy, 6 hours isn't timely enough. I want to know within 5 minutes if I've exceeded my threshold that I set. But 6 hours is as timely as you're going to get, so leave that at the default. We're going to click on greater than equal, and we're just going to say $1, because if we're charged $1, we're outside of the free tier, and we want to know sooner rather than later. And so this is now where we are going to set up SNS. So SNS needs a topic to send alerts to. So we are going to add a topic name. I'm not real wild about having the word default in my topic name, so I'm going to show my lack of creativity here, and I'm just going to call this billing topic. I'm going to key in the email address that I want this alarm notice to go to, and then I'm going to click create topic. You might think, oh, add notification, that's the next step in the process. If you click on that, you notice that's just kind of adding an additional notification. So leave that as it is. Just click on next to move to the next page. We're going to give it a name for the alarm, and I'm going to show again lack of creativity, call this billing alarm. Click on next. And this is a summary of what we just established. We're going to scroll to the bottom and we are going to create the alarm. Up at the top, you'll see a blue banner. It's basically telling you need to go into your inbox and you need to confirm that that email address is okay to receive those alarms. And once you do that, click on the link inside your email and you notice that it'll come up. It's going to pop up a page in a minute saying that we have successfully subscribed. I'll show that here. I'm going to close this window. I'm going to refresh the screen. You'll see that a little blue box goes away at the top. And essentially now it's waiting for 6 hours to collect the data. And now you've got a billing alarm to help protect you against any unwanted or undesired charges. And now we are all set. We've created an account. We have followed best practices. We have secured the account with MFA. We've set up our billing alarms, and now you are free to play. I did mention that there was a way to get hands-on experience with the AWS console without a credit card. So let's talk about that now. So if you don't want to use a credit card, I suggest you take a look at AWS Educate. You can reach that at awseducate.com. It's great for getting some hands-on experience. You don't need a credit card. You don't have to worry about billing. And so make sure to check out my video on that. And the best way to learn AWS is to be hands-on. Go ahead and create an account, secure it, leverage your free services, and enjoy learning AWS. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.